Good morning, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S exam prep. My name is Alpa Sharma, and this is our daily Hindu editorial analysis. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everyone. Can you hear and see me clearly, everybody? Good morning, Mahita. Good morning, Ishan, Avi, Vishal, Ayushi, Purva, Karthik, Neha, Yashashvi, everyone, Muskan. Good morning. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everybody. Good morning. Yes, visible and audible. All right. So, how are you guys today? Been a while that I saw you 3 days. I saw you 4 days back actually, because Friday we did not have a class, and Saturdays and Sundays we don't have our Hindu classes. So, been a while that I saw you, and a lot of things happened in the world in these 3 days, right? So we had a lot to read about. We're going to. So I had difficulty actually cherry picking some good articles. But the articles that I've chosen today, I'll tell you what these are about. Let's quickly have a look at that. One article is from the Hindu, and the second article is from the Indian Express. And this article from the Indian Express will actually give us a lot of food for thought. It will force us to think about a lot of things, including the article from the Hindu as well. So I've taken random articles, one from Saturday, one from Thursday. No, yes, one from Thursday as well. So they might look a little older to you, but then since we did not have classes, I had to pick up the most important ones, and here they are. But before we start off with our session today, there are a couple of things I would like to tell you. We, BYJU'S Exam Prep CLAT, are on Instagram with the same ID, BYJU'S Exam Prep CLAT. So please subscribe to us. Please start following us with the same name on Instagram. And this is the channel where we don't post memes and reels, whereas we post genuine, important information, quiz, questions, current affairs, and vocabulary tests, and multiple other things. So I'm sure you're going to be benefited by following this account. Please do that. Apart from that, if you are targeting the crash course for CLAT 2022, we have our first course that we have launched recently. Make sure you enroll yourself for this course at the earliest, because अब आपके पास CLAT के लिए बहुत टाइम नहीं बचा है. तो अगर क्रैश कोर्स आप टारगेट कर रहे हो तो ये बैच आपके लिए. डोंट लुक एनी फर्दर, जल्दी से एनरोल कर लो इस कोर्स के लिए. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, अगर आपको सिर्फ लीगल अफेयर्स और करंट अफेयर्स पढ़ना है, बाकी चीज आप खुद पढ़ सकते हो. सो उसके लिए वी हैव लॉन्च्ड अ सेकंड बैच ऑन booster course on legal affairs and current events. First batch was already full. Second batch हमने launch किया है, which will specifically target legal affairs and current events only. तो अगर ये दोनों सब्जेक्ट ही आपको पढ़ना है, this is the batch where you look no further. जल्दी से इसके लिए एनरोल कर लो, नहीं तो आपका बहुत सारा जीके, करंट अफेयर्स, लीगल अफेयर्स मिस हो जाएगा, and I'm sure you don't want to do that. Apart from that, if you're targeting CLAT 2023, there's the latest batch that we've launched, batch 7. I will be teaching in this batch as well. So अगर 2023 आपका टारगेट है, एक साल से भी कम बचा है आपके पास, इसके लिए जल्दी से एनरोल कर लो, टाइम वेस्ट मत करो. All right, so how many people have joined me? Approximately 50. Yes, Pratik, thank you so much for coming live. Why don't these classes recommending on the app? It's going on in the app simultaneously, Shafi. I can see people in the app. See, for example, Mahita, Jahid, Ritik, and Zeenat have commented in the app. It's simultaneously live on the app as well. Zeenat says, 2 weeks से आपकी recording classes देख रही हूँ. Really, मैं आपकी fan हो गई? Oh, all right. Thank you, Zeenat. That makes my day. Thank you so much, my child. Yes, Ganesh, I will try to do that as much as possible. Okay. All right. So what is my Instagram ID? My Instagram ID is BYJU'S Exam Prep CLAT. Please follow me there. All right. Now let us see what are we going to do in the class today. We'll have a quote of the day that you're going to give me, and then we will revise. Oh, we will not revise this today. We were supposed to, but then the last class happened 3 days back, rather 4 days back. So we're not going to revise the vocabulary today, but the vocabulary we do today from today's articles, we're going to revise 3 vocabulary words tomorrow in the form of one-word substitution questions. So we don't have a revision today, but since we have a class today, tomorrow is going to be the revision. We'll take up 2 articles, do a complete detailed discussion on them. We'll take out vocabulary, phrasal verbs, idioms from these articles. We'll try to memorize them. In the end, 2 things. You are going to tell me the tone of the author of each article. If there are new people who don't know how to identify the tone of the author, just type my name in the YouTube search bar, Alpa Sharma, tone of the author. You'll find 3 videos made by me. Watch all 3 of them, and trust me, you will never get tone of the author wrong. First thing. Second thing, if you want to communicate with me about any suggestions, about any questions, you can comment under my video in the comment section. I'll read all the comments. You can also write down the summary of each article under my video. I check all the comments. I'll be checking your summary as well if you write them down. Third thing, today's newspaper, since I take an older newspaper, by the end of the class, I'll be discussing what are the important articles you should be reading in today's Indian Express and the Hindu. And out of those articles, I'll be taking up 2 articles for tomorrow's class. So that is going to be our agenda of the day. I hope I've answered all the questions. Okay. Okay. Any other question? No, I don't think there are any more questions in the app. And there's one question by Satyendra. As CLAT 2023 is coming close, my anxiety is increasing. Satyendra, if you are anxious about CLAT 2023 coming close, think about what's going to be going into the mind of people who are targeting CLAT 2022. Anxiety is normal. Okay? Anxiety is good. Because if you're not anxious, there are only 2 kinds of people who are not anxious. Either those people who know everything or those people who don't know anything. Okay? And the chances of somebody knowing everything is almost negligible because even I don't know everything. So, if you don't have anxiety, then possibly you don't know nothing और वो category में आपको होना नहीं चाहिए. तो अगर आपको थोड़ा-थोड़ा आता, थोड़ा-थोड़ा नहीं आता, it's normal to be anxious. Just remember, the anxiety should push you to work harder. Okay? It shouldn't hinder your preparation. If you're anxious, work harder. Okay? Last question. Why is the tone of the author important? I think you haven't seen the last few years' papers. Tone of the author every year is asked. Also, if it is not asked, if you understand the tone of the author, there are multiple questions which you can get correct only with the tone. That is the main idea, inference questions and multiple other questions. So, tone is very important for you to identify. Alright? So, no, Pratik, not yet. Alright, so let's start off with our quote of the day. Who's got the quote here today? Anyone who's bought the quote? It always seems impossible until it is done. Yes, Neha. Last moment, till you sit for CLAT, you'll have this feeling that, I possibly cannot make it to the best NLU. I possibly cannot ace it. That feeling will always be there. It will seem impossible. But bit by bit, when you keep putting in effort, you'll see that ultimately it is possible. Actually, nothing is impossible, right? So, that is about it. So, let's move on with our in CLAT. I don't think about, no, Ritik, even I don't know everything. Okay. So, every other question that you have, which is beyond today's agenda, I'll be answering them by the end of the class. I'll spare 5 minutes for you. So, make sure you don't put up any more random questions now beyond our Hindu editorial discussion. Okay. I'll make sure I'll be answering all the questions. All right. So, here we go with our vocabulary from the day. We have lots of new words to do today. Let's start slowly and gradually and let's understand each of the word. First word is sordid. We haven't seen this word in a while coming in the paper. So sordid is but we saw a lot of synonyms for sordid. Sordid is doing any action that brings you dishonor or is considered immoral by the people around you. That's sordid. So the story paints a sordid picture of bribes and scams. It's a sordid picture because it's a picture that will bring disgrace and dishonor and show that this picture contains a lot of immorality. That is a sordid one. Does everyone get sordid? Yes? Good morning, everyone who's joined me late. Yes, I think everybody has understood. Yes, you can call sordid nefarious as well, Karthik. Yes, you can do that. Like honor killings are sordid and nefarious and immoral and dishonorable. Yes, correct. Let's move to the next word, skeptic. So skeptic is having constant doubt on something. That's the basic meaning of skeptic. But skeptic is also used as a term for a philosophical person whose philosophy, understand this carefully everybody, a person whose philosophy is to doubt everything into existence, question everything into existence. So you can call them skeptic. So for example, if there's an established truth that the earth is round, he would question that. If there's an established truth that there's a supreme power, God, who governs us, he would question that. If there's a truth that we don't have a life after death, he would question that. So having doubts on everything and having that philosophy in your mind that I'm going to question everything. I will not accept anything that unless until it happens to me, is a skeptic. Okay, got this everybody? Suspicious? Yes. Correct. Shafi, sordid can be notorious. Yes, it can be. Cynical, Yashashvi is yes, it's a close word to skeptic. It's not an exact synonym, it's a close word to skeptic. I hope everyone gets it. All right. Good morning, Surbhi. Skeptic can also be pessimist. Yes, he can also be a pessimist. Tainted, Tanishka. Yes, tainted can be sordid. Yes, it can be. All right, let's move to the third word. Circumvent. The circumvent hota hai, jaise you were running here, okay? And there's an obstacle here. So what do? You move like this and start running. You have circumvented the obstacle. That is, you find some other way to pass through it. Is circumvent. If you come to an obstruction in a road, you can seek to circumvent it. Rather than climb over it, you can decide to take another way and dodge it. So dodging can also be circumvent. Yes? Dodging. Ishika, which one? Bache, skeptic is the positive quality. Ishika, it complete. All those skeptic word comes with a negative connotation. But trust me, every word has a different connotation from the context it is used in. So skeptic can also be used positively, but most of the time it comes with a negative connotation only. Overcome, yes, Priya. Circumvent can also be used as overcome. I'll explain quickly sordid again, Jyotika, for you. Sordid is anything that you do which is immoral or disgraceful or dishonorable is sordid. Okay, so honor killings are sordid. Okay, scams, black money is sordid. All right, let's move to the next word. Tainted होगा, तनिष्का मैंने बोला बच्चे, tainted होगा, बिल्कुल sordid का synonym होगा. Can skeptic be a tone of the author? Absolutely, yes, Mahita. It can be used as a tone of the author as well. When he doubts everything into the existence, he's a skeptic. It can absolutely be used as a tone of the author. All right. So the fourth word, deportation. So you now know what article I'm going to use. So basically, sending from one country to the other by legal authorities, deportation. Asylum seekers facing deportation. So they are being sent back to their own country because maybe there's a legal case. And this word has been used in reference to our country also a lot of times. Can you name some people who have faced deportation? Anybody? Okay. So from a foreign country, you're calling people because there's a case that's pending here. That's deportation. Outmaneuver can be used for circumvent. Yes, the height can be. Circumvent has the root word circum. Yes, Ishika, you're absolutely right. It does. Any more questions? No, there are no more questions. Okay, I was asking you how, can you name a few people who faced deportation? Yeah, right. Julian Assange is a latest example. Yes, Julian Assange is a latest example. And then so many years. Okay. All right. So let's move to the last word of the slide. Cusp is basically, so you are in between two states and you are transitioning from one state to the other. This point of in the middle of transitioning is the cusp. Okay. So cusp is also a word used for people. जैसे sun signs होते हैं. Okay. So अगर आपका birth का date it falls between two sun signs, you call it a cusp. It's believed by astrology that you will have characteristics of both the sun signs. So you call it a cusp because you're in between the transitioning stage. Or for example, adolescence to adulthood. You're right in between that. Are you guys right in between that? No, you're still adolescent, right? So you're not at the cusp of it. So cusp is right in between of it. Slide number 1, take a screenshot, everybody. Edge of a blade is also called a cusp. Yes, Purva, it is. Correct. Okay. Asylum क्या होता है अनादि, इसके लिए आपको रेगुलर क्लास में आना पड़ेगा क्योंकि अगर मैं asylum की बात करने लग गई, it's going to go on and on for really long. Okay. Ma'am, I have joined just now. Do you want me to be there? Sorry, I did not get you. I mean, do you want me to be here in the session? Yes, of course, I would want to. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Mm, Here it is. Slide number 2. Ignominy, public humiliation, public shame. You bring public shame is ignominy. So the ignominy of being imprisoned, that disgrace that comes to you, public shame that comes to you because you are imprisoned is ignominy. Okay. So can I say Kanhaiya was, he faced a lot of ignominy when he went to the jail. Did he face ignominy or did he face praise for the imprisonment he has had? Yes. Yes, asylum is the opposite of extradition. Yes, it is. You're absolutely right, Ankita. Because asylum is when you actually find some protection from the country or the embassy of the country. But extradition is when you're sent back, okay? Okay? Stigma, yes, yes, correct. Stigma is a synonym to ignominy. All right. I hope I've answered all the questions here. No, I don't think he faced ignominy for going to the jail. I would disagree with that. Pass muster. Pass muster is okay. Your reasoning can be accepted. Okay? It is satisfactory. That means you can pass muster. The statements that you've given when you're fighting in a court and the judge listens to your arguments, you have passed muster. That means he can consider your arguments to be satisfactory or acceptable. The manifesto would not pass muster with the voters. That means the voters think this manifesto is actually not acceptable. We will not agree to it. But ऐसा नहीं होता. सबका manifesto actually accept हो जाता है. They pass muster by some voters or the others. Next word is insidious. Insidious is like stealthily, quietly, but spreading in a very harmful way. That is insidious. Like cancer cells. It would quietly spread in somebody's body, but would be very harmful. Okay, so that's insidious. Sexual harassment is a serious and insidious problem. It is spreading gradually, but it's very harmful. It is not a burst that is happening. It's spreading, 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 and it's harming our society. That's insidious. So after the recent auctioning case that we saw on internet, we can call that case the involvement of youth a very insidious one. Yes, a very insidious one. Pernicious, yes, Himendra, you can call that. You can call that, absolutely. Harmful, yes. Taint and blot, yes, Samarth, they can be ignominy, correct. Coronavirus, yes, that is another example of something that's insidious. No, Wapsi, that's another asylum. Acha, dekho kya confusion. Let me talk about asylum here. Dekho, there are two types of asylums. One asylum where people who with some mental disorder are sent, okay, because they need some treatment. That is one asylum. But a political asylum is a different one, okay. It's where I'll explain in one line if you can understand this. Otherwise, whenever the article on Julian Assange or anyone else who has sought for extradition comes up, I'll take that in detail. That asylum is where a person runs away from his own country and seeks favor and protection and home from another country, and the other country agrees to protect that person. That is an asylum. So Dalai Lama lives in our country in asylum, running away from Tibet, or I can call it China. Okay, so Tibetans actually disagree to that fact, but he is in asylum in our country. I hope you understand the difference between both the asylums. Okay, that's a mental asylum that I'm referring to, where mentally disturbed people are sent. Okay, and the other is for refugees. All right, so I have answered most of the questions here. Let's move to the next word. Insidious is done. Lament is when you actually express your unhappiness, your grief is lamenting. You're crying for something. That's lamenting. His mother's night-long laments for his father. So the mother was grieving, and she was lamenting, and she was sorrowful. That is what the sentence explains. The last one, ethnocentrism. So ethnocentrism is basically, let's break the word, ethnocentry. Okay, ethno comes from ethnic. Century, that's your center, that's what you believe in. Okay, like egocentric. So ego is my center. I believe in the upliftment of my own ego. I'm egocentric. So ethnocentric comes from ethnicity. Now understand this word, everybody, carefully, because it has a lot of governance implication, a lot of ruling implication as well. So a person who analyzes every culture, every religion, specifically culture, by keeping his own culture as the center, and then he compares his own culture to every other culture, and that's how he analyzes every other culture, is ethnocentrism. Okay, I'll repeat. My own culture is my center. I will understand and respect and evaluate every other culture, keeping my own culture as the center, my own ethnicity as the center, is ethnocentrism. I hope everybody gets it. This is slide number 2. Take a quick screenshot, everybody. Grief का मतलब होता है बच्चे sorrow, pain, emotional pain, not physical, is grief. Because you have possibly lost somebody, is grief. Lamenting is not solidarity. No, it isn't. Insidious is absolutely a negative connotation. Lakshmi, it's an absolutely negative word. Okay? Yes, whoever reads word power he absolutely would know this word. Correct. No, Tanishka, it isn't bache. It is not buffering. Alright, so I'm moving to the next slide. I hope everyone's understood ethnocentrism. Jingoism is a related word, Arshita. Yes, you can say that. Jingoism is a related word to ethnocentrism. So, believing that your own country, your own ethnicity and religion is supreme to others is a jingoism. Correct. Okay, so let's move to the last slide. Conundrum, slide number 3. So, conundrum is like a dilemma. It's a confusing state. You don't know what to do, where to go, is a conundrum. One of the most difficult conundrums for the experts is to decide if a booster dose should be given in India or not. That's a difficult situation. You're unable to decide. It's a dilemma. It's a fix. You are in a rut. You are in a soup. Not rut. You are in a soup. You can call that. That means you are in a difficult situation. Being in a soup is that. So I hope everybody understands what conundrums are. Okay. Next word. Diktats are orders which are forced by an authority without giving consideration to people and their opinions, or without even taking consent from everybody around them. If there's a rule, there's a law, an order that's imposed on people, that's diktats. So diktat from the Bandstat, or maybe we can say a dictator. Dictator से diktat को याद कर लेना, जो dictator के जैसे act करे, who behaves like a dictator, imposes his opinions, his orders, his rules and regulations without the consent of people, without giving much thought to the implications on the people and their rights, are diktats. You know, I'm going to take an article on law today. You can understand that by looking at the type of words that I have today. Enigma for conundrum. No, sorry, this is not a synonym. Okay, Ishika, please take that by the end of the class. All right, ordinance. Ordinance, Akshit, is a related word, but remember, ordinance does not have to be forceful without consideration, whereas a diktat can be. Okay? Autocrats. Firm law can be called one. Yes. All right. Somebody in the app, please. Okay, I'm going to make the chat public. Just a minute. Yes. All right, so let's move to the next word. Balk. You are hesitant in accepting something. We see a lot of people balking on the idea of getting vaccinated. They're hesitant in accepting that action or the idea of getting vaccinated. They think hum vaccination hai. So balking is hesitant in accepting an idea or accepting a decision is balking. So he balked at such drastic solution. He was hesitant in accepting such drastic solutions. That's balking. The last word, urbane. Now there are two words. One is urban. Urban is like modern and developed, opposite of rural. Okay, that's urban. But urbane is absolutely different from urban. Urbane is very, very courteous, full of manners and respect, like opening the door for somebody if an old person or a woman maybe passes through, that's courteous. Offering your seat for a pregnant woman, these are examples of urbane, courteous and refined in your manners. They are charming and urbane. I hope everybody gets the words here. Balk is reluctant. Yes, it is. It is absolutely yes. Increasing the age for marriage for girls is diktats. I would disagree a little here. Okay. Etiquette, yes. Chivalry, yes. Courteous, yes. All are synonyms to it. Absolutely yes. Chivalry, chivalrous is a synonym. Okay. Courtesy is. Courtesy ka matlab, if that's what you're asking me, courtesy is manners. Okay. So when you say, when you type in the chat box, ma'am, explain. It would be more full of courtesy if you say, ma'am, please explain. Ma'am, next slide. It would have been more courteous if you say, ma'am, can you please show me the next slide? That's full of etiquettes and you're urbane and more courteous and your language is refined. Okay. I hope you've taken a screenshot. Everybody. Is deadlock, impasse, dilemma, synonyms to conundrum? Yes, they can be, Zenith. Yes. Okay. All right. Katyani, I'll explain diktats again. Diktats are basically any rules or laws that are forcefully imposed. Okay. They are called diktats. All right. Yeah. Chat private. Yes, chorus. You're absolutely right. Very good example. Ashmita, that's a good question actually. I'll answer that question before I move to the next class. Somebody in the chat has asked me, ma'am, how do you remember so many words? I'll be really honest here. I'll not brag about myself. I'll be really honest here. One, I read very regularly till date. I read, okay? And I read from a variety of sources. So that these words, because these are high frequency words, these are seen in multiple things that I read. So there's not a specific thing that I read. There are newspapers and there are articles and there are magazines and there are novels. So I read from a variety of sources. And that makes it easier for me to memorize so many words. And of course, I've been reading at least 15 more additional years I've read than you have, because I'm at least 15 years older than you are. So 15 years of additional experience makes me memorize these words faster. And I eat 4 almonds daily. So my memory is good. You should always do that. Let us move to the next page. That is the article from last week's newspaper. And stick with me till the end of the class, because the second article becomes more important than the first article. So I'll take the first article in a jiffy. We'll go through it quickly. And then in the second article, we'll think and we'll talk. Okay? Yeah, Ramesh, yes. Now I agree to what you've said. China balked that they were spreaders of COVID. Yes, they still balk on it. All right, so let's move with the article here. So, Novak Djokovic on his way to Australia for his next match where he could defeat all other prominent players of the world says, मैं vaccination हूँ. मैं vaccination नहीं लगवाऊंगा क्योंकि मैं vaccination हूँ. Okay? So, jokes apart, he is a skeptic when vaccinations are considered. And Australia is one of the countries where the death rate due to COVID has been the lowest throughout the world. Obviously, because approximately 90% of the entire Australian population that falls above 16 has already been double vaccinated, completely vaccinated. So they are very, very stringent about their vaccination. Now, what happened in the past? On Thursday, Djokovic was on his way to enter into Australia, where he sought for a special permission from the event organizers. Sorry, guys, from the event organizers, and he wanted his entry to be permissible because. And why was the permission needed? Because he was not vaccinated, and he's decided not to be vaccinated. Okay, so he got the permission, but while he landed, he was not allowed to get into Australia because the government says that you are violating our policy. So it has taken a different turn now. So let's see ye kaise hua and what has happened after that. Okay. So, okay. So let us move to the article. Let's see what is he saying. Djokovic being denied entry into Australia in the early hours of Thursday after his visa was cancelled following a 10-hour standoff with the Australian Border Force at the Melbourne airport. So, when he landed there, the Australian Border Force said your visa has been denied. The drama went on for 10 hours where he was stuck in the airport and the Border Force said your visa has been denied. Whereas he said the organizers of the tournament agreed to let me in. The Australian Open Championship and the organizers agreed to let me in. It is one of the sport's most sordid tales. The world #1 and 3-time defending Australian Open champion, also a vaccine skeptic. What is the figure of speech used here? Be very careful. What is the figure of speech used here? A 3-time defending Australian Open and also a vaccine skeptic. What is the figure of speech? Who's going to tell me that? Be very careful. Congratulations, Devanshu. This is not from the Indian Express. This is from the Hindu. What is the figure of speech here? Everyone be careful. Purva, I expect the first answer from you. Because I know you're good at figure of speech. What's the figure of speech here? Simile? No. Personification? No. We're referring to a person only. How is a non-living thing personified here? Chorus? Vaibhav? You are absolutely right. It is antithesis. Yes, Sakshi. It is antithesis. Correct. In the app, he's a tennis player. He's one of the best tennis players the world has ever seen. It's not onomatopoeia. No, not onomatopoeia. It's antithesis. Now, if you don't know what antithesis is, do some research. I'll explain that later on. So he had secured a medical exemption from the Victorian state government in Tennis Australia. The sports national governing body had given him exemption कि चलो ठीक है हम आपको allow कर देंगे आप आके खेल लो even if you haven't been vaccinated yet to circumvent a mandatory vaccination requirement to play at the season's opening major. So obviously the mandatory requirement was that you need to be double vaccinated. Although the authority said ठीक है you are given an exemption, you don't have to be vaccinated, we are circumventing a mandatory vaccination requirement and you can come here and play. So while the authority allowed him, why would the government have denied his visa? Think of it. Let's see, the article tells you about that. But in a stunning turnaround, the Serb, who is the Serb here? The Serbian, that is Djokovic, was stopped at the border control after ABF, which operates under the Australian government. So government operate करती है ABF को और government ने बोलते हैं कोई visa नहीं allow करेंगे. No, he's not getting into our country and playing here in the tournament. It deemed the evidence supporting his medical exemption as insufficient. So he got an exemption, right? And he had a medical report as well. But the government said, no, we're not going to accept it. And this exemption is insufficient. And now it's a complete diplomatic game that's going on. Faced with the prospect of deportation, Djokovic now has mounted a legal challenge. So now he is reached to the court. क्या होगा उसका result? आज Monday को पता चलेगा. Shorn of all the drama, this month could have been momentous for the 20-time major winner, as he is on the cusp of overtaking Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal for the most Grand Slam men's single titles. So if he had played and won, he would have been one of the most winning most Grand Slam men's single titles in the history, overtaking Roger Federer and Nadal as well. But we don't know what's going to happen. Melbourne is his favorite hunting ground. Having won an open era record 9 titles in Melbourne, he would love to come here and play. Instead, it could end in ignominy for one of the game's bona fide greats. Who is game's bona fide greats? Djokovic. And instead of winning with a feat, he actually would bring himself a lot of ignominy for not being vaccinated if it turns out in the opposite direction of his desire. This is a saga from which no one party emerges with credit. अब देखो इस situation को the author is analyzing it here. The author says figure of speech are absolutely different from the tone. Yes, Samarth, I saw your comment, Bacha. I absolutely saw your comment. All right. And what is antithesis? I'll explain that by the end of the class. Okay. Also, I think there's a need to take another class on figure of speech. Looks like that. Do you think so? एक क्लास चाहिए फिगर ऑफ स्पीच पे सबको. एंटीथेसिस. यस मनीष ऋषभ, you're absolutely correct. अच्छा, अब देखो, who is to be blamed here? Djokovic for not taking multiple doses of vaccination, the authority who allowed him inside the country, the government who did not allow him inside the country. Who is to blame here? Actually, multiple people. How? In the past, Djokovic has disapproved of the vaccine mandates for travel and play and has asked for everyone's personal choice to be respected. He says, it's my personal choice not to be vaccinated and you have to respect my personal choice. Okay, that's what he believes in. But in public health crisis, the exercise of free will comes with responsibilities. Yes, because and the science tells us that if a person is vaccinated, the chances of he becoming a mass spreader is less. So when the whole world is amidst a crisis, a pandemic, your individual choice of not being vaccinated, should it be given attention to? Possibly not. That is one person to be blamed, is Djokovic himself. And he has been unmindful of this fact all time long because he was not vaccinated. In the present case, at least Djokovic could have done is to explain the nature of the exemption he sought and got. The Australian public, of which over 90% of the over 16 population is fully vaccinated, was understandably furious. Yes, जब 90% population double vaccine completely vaccinated है, तो उनका जो furious reaction था, it was actually obvious, because when the public decides to vaccinate themselves, then is Djokovic an exception? Possibly not. For it has endured some of the harshest lockdowns. And people were also aggressive because they had seen one of the harshest lockdowns in the world. They have missed birthdays, marriages, in fact, funerals of loved ones as well, to limit the death toll to among lowest anywhere in the world. Only 2,300 deaths by COVID till date. So if they are suffering and they are getting vaccinated for everyone else's health, and if Djokovic decides, this is my personal choice, I will not get vaccinated, let me inside your country, is their fury, is the public's fury acceptable? For sure is. That said, the two independent medical boards who allowed him, one formed by the Tennis Australia and the other by Victoria, to approve a medical exemption that cannot pass muster with its own federal authorities. एक country की government allow नहीं कर रही है, but उसकी authority allow कर रही है. You're actually having two sides of the same coin. You're not allowing each other here. So there's a considerable doubt here. For Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison to take a hard-line stance on Djokovic's participation a day after leaving the decision in the hands of the state government indicated that he was aware which way the political wind was blowing. So, you know what happened? So the Prime Minister first said the state will decide. And he knew the state will agree because there was a medical exemption given to him. So the state will agree to his visa. He knew that's going to happen. That way the wind was blowing. So he said, I am going to now decide I will not let him in my country and play a match here. Now, who are to be blamed? The government, Djokovic himself, the state as well for taking the risk of letting him in. The center-right government has seen its popularity slump in the recent months. और यहाँ एक political angle भी आ गया है because the government has seen a slump in its popularity. So to make itself popular again, maybe and because the cases are rising and lockdown is back on its track, to make itself popular again, this decision was taken. It will be said if Djokovic becomes a political football, whether or not he pushes the envelope. So ऐसा लग रहा है ये जो court case हो गया अब Djokovic के साथ, he has actually become a political football instead of actually merely being a tennis player. So what is the tone of the author here, everyone? What is the tone of the author? Everybody, tone. Following him, maybe many of his fans chose not to get vaccinated. Yes, that's what happens when you are an influential figure as well. Shweta, even I think so. Even I am of the same opinion. Analytical and critical. Analytical and critical, yes. Rather critical, more of a critical one. Less of an analytical one. He's more of a critical one here. Yes? Agreed? No, not at all sarcastic. There is not even a single line of sarcasm here. He's mostly critical and a bit of analytical, evaluating what is the implication of this whole drama that's happening. All right, now I'm going to move to the second article, which is a very important one, which is going to give all of us a lot of food for thought. It's completely law related, and let's think about that. Let's talk about that as well, because I think that will aid your understanding of the passage as well. So everyone, back your attention to this passage. How the past informs the present. Speaking at an event in Hyderabad recently, the Supreme Court Justice S. Abdul Nazir lamented that despite India having a tradition of jurisprudence that can be traced to the great sages like Manu, Kautilya, Brihaspati, we've had these people who were examples in the history of our country, who were examples of jurisprudence. We don't follow their jurisprudence, but according to S. Abdul Nazir, we follow a jurisprudence by learning from the Roman laws and the colonial laws. And we still use these laws framing the foundation of our legal system today. That's what he had to say. Now, the entire passage analyzes his statement and analyzes it from both the perspectives. That actually following Manu, Kautilya and Brihaspati, we could learn a lot, but there are other things that we might actually miss out on them. Let's see what are these here. No, Shruti, he wasn't. Not even a single one. Acha. Okay. Is it talking about sedition? Not only sedition, but our entire, देखो हमारा जो entire legal juridical system है, वो कहाँ से आता है? Where does it come from? It's about the Indianization of law. Yes. Okay. So where does it come from? It comes from the colonial laws and the Roman laws. That's where we borrowed our laws from. Okay. So that is about it. Okay. Any more questions, anyone? Yeah. This article is from the Indian Express, bache. From the Indian Express. So in England, what did he say? What did Abdul Nazir say? He said in England, Western Europe and the US, judges and lawyers receive an education based on their civilization. So why don't lawyers in our country receive education based on our civilization? Why do we learn their laws? Russia's judicial values stem from the Marxist past, of course. But the Indian judge or lawyer learns about Roman law and the Western jurists. Why? Why don't we learn about Indian laws? Why don't we learn about our history of Indianization and laws that frame India? Why not? Then Justice Nazir said they learn nothing about the evolution of law in their own land, citing the examples of Manu, Kautilya and Brihaspati, ascribing the weakness in the judiciary to a lack of historical perspective. He said our judiciary lacks historical perspective. We overlook our history and learn about Roman and British history. Justice Nazir stressed that Indian jurisprudence must be included as a compulsory subject in law degree courses. He believes in that. He says that Indian history and Indian jurisprudence should be an inevitable part of your programs at NLUs. Now, that is what he focused on. Isn't it ironical that one of the most colonial law of sedition is used the most by our current government? That is the irony. And you know, Purva, you're absolutely right. Purva, I'm going to share a podcast with you guys in our Telegram channel, Law Doubt Discussion. If my video team is active right now, video team, can you please post the link of our Telegram channel? I'll be sharing a podcast by Dhruv Rathi where, okay, now a lot of you might not like him, but that's a very neutral podcast. So don't take it from a personal hatred perspective. And he has clearly explained the whole concept of this UAPA and sedition and how laws were amended by certain governments to make the laws work in favor of them, which could even violate our basic fundamental rights. For example, sedition, that is against our freedom of speech. There are other laws as well. So where the government has an authority of amending the laws, where they can also violate our fundamental rights. I'm going to share that podcast, okay? So, now, let's read ahead with this. Currently, Indian society is divided into, here now the author is analyzing Justice Nazir's argument. Currently, Indian society is divided into those who feel that an insidious Western influence has turned us into stunted copycats. So, author कह रहे हैं, देखो ये मेरा opinion नहीं है, please don't accuse me. The author says that we have become stunted copycats of Westernization and Western philosophy and everything that's Western, and that we should carefully re-examine our glorious past to appreciate our uniqueness. Why do we copy somebody? We are unique in our own terms. We should appreciate that. So what Justice Nazir said is actually right. But there is other set of people who can think of Justice Nazir's statement as, but this group is small, who thinks of this way, that fear that a self-congratulatory ethnocentrism prevails. He says, why do you have to become an ethnocentric person? कि मेरा country, मेरा ethnicity, मेरा religion supreme है. Why do you have to think that way? Jingoism का कोई space नहीं होना चाहिए. तो जब आप ये बोलते that we need to learn from our country's past, some people may think that ethnocentrism is on its way, that jingoism is on its way, closing our minds to established facts from around the world. So if you try to get back to your own roots, there is a possibility that you close your own mind to any law, any rule, any fact that is already established by multiple other countries and their jurisprudence. If we avoid them, we are just closing our minds. So there are two sets of people here. One who will say, okay, it's good to be proud of your uniqueness and go back to your roots. The other would say, no, you're just shutting your mind here. You're not being modern. You're not being acceptable to other cultures. You're being ethnocentric here. I hope you understand the two kinds of people here. Yes? All right. Oh, yes. So you guys heard the podcast on Keswananda Bharti case. I hope you like that. I'll share another podcast by him today. Okay? I'll share another podcast that he shared. It's okay, Ritik. It's okay to hate him. I know some people hate him. I will not express my opinions here. It's okay to have any opinion about that. The podcast I'll share is completely fact-oriented and no opinions there. So you can freely listen to him. Okay? All right. So, the truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. In दोनों set of ideas के बीच में lie करता है. Even in India, the winds of change are impossible to miss. Yes, the winds of change from this set of people to the other set of people, हम देख रहे हैं बहुत सारी चीजें चेंज हो रही है हमारे कंट्री में. इन द लास्ट 1 year आपने जितनी बाइसेक्सुअल मैरिजेस देखी है इंडिया में, और मैंने जितनी देखी है उतनी मैंने मेरी लाइफ में कभी नहीं देखी. So yes, the winds of change, it's impossible to miss. We can see that it's right there in front of our eyes, and it's, you know, my opinions on that. At the same time, if not in legal circles, modern interpretations of Kautilya's 2000-year-old Arthashastra are thriving. We can see his interpretation of his 2000-year-old Arthashastra. There are over 25 books by management gurus available on Amazon who have distilled Chanakya's realist approach. Chanakya Niti, almost 25 books अभी available हैं Amazon पे according to the author. So हम follow करते हैं चाणक्य नीति, कौटिल्य नीति, हम follow करते हैं उसको. At some point in our lives, we all seek to know thyself better. Everyone wants to know himself, herself better. Indeed, there is a great value in the ancient texts, expanding our views on existence, nudging us to discover whether BC or AD, mankind's travails remains the same. So the author says, अगर आप कौटिल्य के, चाणक्य के टेक्स्ट को पढ़ोगे, सो व्हाट कम्स आउट हियर? एडी की बात करो या बीसी की बात करो, इट डज नॉट मैटर कौन सा ईयर है या कितना पुराना टेक्स्ट है. द बेसिक कंसेप्ट ऑफ मैनकाइंड इज आवर गोल्स, पीस, prosperity, frustration, troubled relationship and financial insecurity remains or has remained the same throughout all these thousands and 2000s of years. All of these, आज भी आपका गोल, आपकी troubled relationships, आपकी financial insecurity, आपकी prosperity, आपका core of your mind होगा. Okay? और आज से 2000 years back भी यही था. Within these broad truths, Justice Nazir's call that each society differs fundamentally and must be evaluated in terms of its own strictures is crucial, not just for courts to deliver justice, but for people to escape the limitations of their environment. So, the author says what he says is absolutely correct. आपके country की limitation को अगर आपको evaluate करना, you need to study its history, which color their perception of the world, and how the world will form depends on the history of our country. Now, the stories we have been told about ourselves, family dictates on how we should live, seem unconvincing and at odds with the global reality. Yes, how many of you agree to this line? Read this line, everyone, and tell me how many of you agree to this. I think the ethnocentrism becomes a problem when we think only our own culture is right. Yes. When you think of that, only your own, that is when ethnocentrism is a problem. Otherwise, being ethnocentric, you see all the Europeans, all the French, they are ethnocentric and they proudly call themselves as one. All the Britishers are. No, this article is not from the Hindu, it's from the Indian Express. Yes, do you guys agree to it? That what we've been told, our family laws, how we should live is actually at odds with global reality. Yes, absolutely yes, true. Global reality mein, we can adopt any good culture. It could be our own roots. Yes, exactly, Tanishka. Yes, absolutely yes, true. So, and how? Let's understand this. Laws that support LGBTQ rights. आप में से कितने लोगों की फैमिली में ओपनली LGBTQ के बारे में डिस्कशन हुआ होगा? एक पॉजिटिव डिस्कशन, let me put it that way. Not my family. I've never had that. Okay. So, no. Single working women को appreciatively, देखो ये चेंज हम बहुत टाइम से देखते आ रहे हैं. My family has been one where single working women were actually appreciated. So, and I'm sure आपके भी बहुत सारी ऐसी families होगी जहाँ it is normal for a single woman to be working as well. ये चेंज हम बहुत सालों से देख चुके हैं. It's a potent force that you get the sense that the youth are impatiently shedding all their inhibitions. LGBTQ coming open about your sexuality, being single and being working and being a woman, all the combination of all three. We see the youth of today being open about all this. The wise elder of Indian households commands respect, but has lost the control he once exerted. So ये देखो, ये wise elder does not mean your father or your grandfather. ये wise elder inverted comma में है क्योंकि ये बताने के लिए कि ये वो है लोग जो हमारे घर के वाइज एल्डर माने जाते थे, जो ये कहते थे कि सिंगल वुमेन शुड नॉट बी वर्किंग एंड LGBTQ इज अ होक्स, बट अब उनकी अथॉरिटी कम हो गई है और उनका कंट्रोल अब कम हो गया है बिकॉज ऑफ द मॉडर्नाइजेशन ओनली. यस, अग्रीड. ऑल कल्चर्स. यस. Oh, okay. Yes, agreed. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So, cultural relativism can be best understood by this example. Example देखो, कैसे आप इंडियंस और वेस्टर्नर्स के व्यूज को मैरिज पे देखते हो और कैसे ये डिफरेंट हो सकता है. बहुत ध्यान से एग्जाम्पल समझना. ये ऑथर का पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू समझाएगा जो कि एक्चुअली थोड़ा डिफरेंट है फ्रॉम आवर जस्टिसेस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. A top US newspaper is carrying a piece that has gained a lot of traction online. How I demolished my life. The writer proudly asserts that she walked out of a marriage with 3 children because her husband was blocking her view of the world. That means possibly she wanted to do things which the husband did not allow of or was happy of. Possibly she wanted to work or do something else which the husband was not very approving of, and she walked out of that marriage with 3 kids. And this is a very popular piece of article doing online. Even the most urbane and emancipated Indian would balk in alarm at such self-indulgence. कि इतना selfish हो गई तुम that आप अपने बच्चों को लेके अपने husband को छोड़ के चले गए क्योंकि वो आप वर्ल्ड ऐसे देख रहे थे जैसे वो देख रहा था और आप अपना एक इंडिविजुअल पर्सपेक्टिव नहीं रख पा रहे थे. Most of the emancipated and urban Indian would balk at the alarm. ये लाइन से मैं थोड़ा सा disagree करती हूँ. Yes, I'm sure all of you think that this was absolutely okay. This case was absolutely okay. So perhaps because in India we feel duty bound to power through situations disregarding personal cost. हमारा personal loss चलेगा लेकिन हम authority के against नहीं बोलेंगे. ये हमें सिखाया गया था. While we were not you at least, आपसे एक generation पहले वाले लोग कि अथॉरिटी के अगेंस्ट नहीं बोलना है, चाहे आपकी पर्सनल चीजें वहां इनफैक्ट स्कूल से यही सिखाते थे, अथॉरिटी के अगेंस्ट नहीं बोलना आपको, चाहे आपको वो पर्सनली हार्म करे, आपका मेंटल स्टेबिलिटी रूइन करे, लेकिन अथॉरिटी के अगेंस्ट आपको नहीं बोलना. स्कूल्स यही सिखाते हैं, इंडियन स्कूल्स. कुछ हाउस होल्ड्स में भी ये चीज फॉलो करी जाती है. सेल्फ एब्जॉर्प्शन वर्सेस सैक्रिफाइस. Who is to say what's the better method of finding one's way to ever so elusive happiness? आपकी पर्सनल हैप्पीनेस कहां से आएगी? सेल्फ एब्जॉर्प्शन से आएगी या सैक्रिफाइस से आएगी? हमारे पुराने हाउस होल्ड बोलते हैं सैक्रिफाइस से आएगी. इट बोथ सीम साइड्स हैव कंसिडरेबल पिटफॉल्स. सो ऐसा लग रहा है दोनों ही साइड्स एक्चुअली अपने अपने हार्म्स के साथ आते हैं. One would benefit by toning down the impulsiveness, the other by occasionally upsetting the status quo. कभी कभी सैक्रिफाइस नहीं करना ओके है, कभी कभी अथॉरिटी के अगेंस्ट बोलना ओके है, और कभी कभी अपने इम्पल्सिवनेस की मेरा सेल्फ सबसे आगे है, कभी कभी उस इम्पल्सिवनेस को रोकना भी जरूरी होता है. तो दोनों के अलग अलग डाउनफॉल्स हैं. अंडरस्टूड टिल दिस पार्ट एवरीवन? थोड़ा सा फिलोसॉफिकल है, डिफिकल्ट लग सकता है. यस यस, फॉर अस ड्यूटी टेक्स प्रेसिडेंस ओवर द इंडिविजुअल. थोड़ा सा फिलोसॉफिकल है, बट आई होप आ रहा है समझ में सबको. ओके. It was news to me that the word adhikar, rights, does not occur even once in the Arthashastra. However, the word dharma, duty, and obligations is central to the text, to Arthashastra, because the word dharma or duty is central to Bhagavad Gita, right? And Bhagavad Gita से हमारे अर्थशास्त्र आए. अर्थशास्त्र में it's clearly written that your dharma is supreme. And adhikar or right was not seen even once by the author in the Arthashastra. So, the opinions and ideas of scholars passed down over generations and generations, where adhikar, not important, dharma, very important, have profound effect on society. So, the subconscious baggage of duty is hard to shake off. Aapki duty hai. It's been passed on and on from the times of Arthashastra till date. So, it's not very easy for any person to disregard any duty that's on his own shoulders. For example, It's your father's, supposedly, it's your father's duty to earn a living uh, and give you an education that is worthy of it, where you are not devoid of any needs and demands. It's supposedly the dharma that he's fulfilling. Supposedly. That's been going on and on for so many years. Perhaps we need to philosophically agree that our choices are dictated by factors larger than ourselves. मेरा choice क्या है? As a woman, क्या मुझे घर बैठ के I should look after my child? या आई शुड गो आउट एंड वर्क, ये मेरा चॉइस है, ये कहीं ना कहीं मेरे पर्सनल से ज्यादा इस सोसाइटी पे डिपेंड करता है. Maturity isn't just taking responsibility of our actions, but critically assessing the history that placed us there. मेरा action है to leave my child and teach here right now. But is it my own personal choice, or is it that the history placed me here? Is it the reward that I decided to do against the history? The ultimate freedom is having the power to change the history. वो freedom आपके पास होनी चाहिए. Now, this paragraph, how is he looking at the justice's point of view of us going back to our Arthashastra and learning from it? This paragraph, tell me, how is he looking at our justice's point of view? Yes, Shagun, please tell me. How is this paragraph looking at our justice's point of view? Positively, negatively? Everyone, answer this. I'm so glad I actually bought this article today in the class. Let me see if you understand his point of view here. कैसे देख रहे हैं वो हमारे opposing for sure. It's actually critical. He is opposing it. Yes, he is negative here. So he is possibly trying to analyze. There are positives to his statement and then there are negatives like these. है ना? So, ultimately, what is our tone of the author here? अब बताओ, tone of the author, carefully. Last paragraph was opposing, it was against. What is our tone? The ultimate freedom is having the power to change the history. Yes, correct. Correct, Ritik, correct. Absolutely. It's an analytical one. So he is analyzing our justice's statement. He's looking at the positives of it and the negatives of it as well, without coming with a direct upfront opinion. He is completely analytical here. There are two clear paragraphs. One explaining positives, the other explaining negatives. Completely analytical. Agreed, everyone? Did you love this article? By the time you tell me if you've loved this article or not, let me open up today's Hindu and Indian Express and show you what are the important articles we need to read today. Hindu and Indian Express. By the time you tell me if you've liked this article or not. So here we go. Uh-oh. What happened? Yep. Sorry, guys. I hope it's visible to everybody in the background. Yes. Love this. Okay. So let us look at login. What happened? Yeah. Let us look at today's editorial and see the important articles. मेरा view मैं नहीं बताऊंगी. No. I'll share the podcast immediately after the class ends. With you, team, can you please share the link to our Telegram group Law Doubt discussion here in the chat box? Okay. The first one. The EWS quota remains unchanged. Read this, important. Growth concerns about Omicron and GDP, important. I think I'm going to take this tomorrow. What times हमने कोई economy based article नहीं लिया. I think I'm going to take this tomorrow. Some Raj Bhavans are on the war path. छोड़ देना. A bill could alter the mediation landscape. The mediation bill, yes, yes. पढ़ लेना इसको, okay? Next page. The best masks to ward off Omicron. N95. No double masking. Remember this, guys. No double masking. No cloth mask. No fancy mask. No embroidered chain masks. Only N95. Okay. Read this article. Yes. Read this. Leave this article. Let's move to the text and context. I love text and context. कोई question है किसी का? Ma'am, please suggest some good novels and blogs. Ishika, can you please join the Telegram group? Video team, can you please share the link of the Telegram group here in the chat? Para completion, chorus para completion. Ma'am, in CLAT, we are generally given questions on critical reasoning. So, is it necessary for us to do logical reasoning topics like syllogism, coding, decoding? I think yes, Gargi. Because apart from CLAT, you'll be sitting for other law entrance examinations where such questions will come. Also, solving such questions, they help you understand logic better. I think you should be solving them. Okay? Yes, Samarth, you're right. Okay. Text and context. Yes. Yes. Please read this. The new microchip infused e-passports. Skim kar lena. Last page of text and context. I love text and context. Following the trail of crumbs. That is the cookies that the websites save. Yeah. Please read this. Know your English? Be an entrepreneur of language. Skim. Let's move to the Indian Express. Okay. So, Indian Express. Just a minute. Just a minute, guys. Take care. Okay, so the first article, Admiral H.S. Sharma, a hero of the sea. Yes. Please पढ़ लेना इसको. Okay, I'll possibly take this article tomorrow. Solving migrant workers housing crisis. Yes, पढ़ना है आपको. Reading NHFS 5 data to understand India's health or population outlook. Yes. Why GDP data says about state of the economy. एक आर्टिकल पढ़ लेना, हिंदू या इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में से एक, सेम आर्टिकल है. Political search बिल्कुल छोड़ देना. We can't afford to neglect TB care. Yes, because of the COVID, we've actually started overlooking the TB cases, but we can't do that. Very important. Simmering challenge. India-China border dispute. Important. Views about Mayawati? No. Okay, let's look at the explained page. High unemployment, the common factor in poll-bound states. Yes. Dharma सांसद महामंडलेश्वर बिल्कुल भी नहीं पढ़ना है. Politics of Uttar Pradesh बिल्कुल नहीं पढ़ना है. What is in store for German politics? छोड़ देना. What does record inflation means in the Eurozone? Yes. उसका क्या impact हमारे ऊपर आएगा? Yes. Newly crowned F1 champion. Yes. And health. Why PCMC has set a 10-day deadline for COVID-19 vaccination. Yes. Why Taiwan purchased 24,400 bottles. Yes. Yes. Now, that is all about the newspaper articles. Any questions? Telegram link नहीं आया? भेजा नहीं मेरे वीडियो टीम ने अभी तक? Video team. Can you please send the link for Telegram group? The link, oh, they say the link is in the, yes, here it is. Here it is. Guys, join kar lo. Or Yes, I'm sending the link to our Telegram group in the chat in the app right now. Okay, 1 minute. So here it is for just a minute. Video team, can you please also post it for people? People in the app. I'm trying to paste it, though I'm unable to. No, not this one. All right. Here it is. Guys, in the app, please join this one. The second one. Please join the second one, not the first one, but the second one. Okay? The second one. In the app, please join the second link. Okay? All right, guys. So winding up the class. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Have a very good day.